So, anybody on there?
Jonathan.
Oh,
I
good.
think all Rachel on stage. Just had to bail somebody out. She's always on the go.
So hey, I don't want to keep you long. I'm a little tired from yesterday, and I'm sure you all are too. But I do want to offer any questions so far, anything you wanted to decipher about yesterday, anything you had deeper questions about, or what to expect, or what's this gonna feel like?
Am I going to cry every time?
No, but you will.
Okay,
I mean,
yeah,
it's about getting into some real emotions.
yeah.
I mean,
I couldn't even talk about it yesterday with my boyfriend.
well,
I start crying.
it's about, you can't have a breakthrough without having a breakdown.
Yeah.
So if you break down and you're vulnerable, then that's when the real stuff starts to change. So, yes.
I would love to know how to do the equity evaluation, now that I have people interested in those. Were you in the room at that time? We were texting,
Oh.
Yeah.
So it's basically a market analysis.
oh,
So if you look at a market analysis and find out what they owe on their home, so it's basically looking at the market to get them a price. And then talk to them about their equity, meaning, okay, how much do you have in your home to pay it off?
okay,
So that money can be a down payment
okay.
or towards your next house.
So if their house is worth, you're doing a CMA, maybe you think you could sell it for like 250, and they've got 200,000 into it, then they're,
Yes. So like right now, I owe like 74 on my house, okay? My house is 350.
okay,
So my equity is 350 minus 74.
okay,
So I could use that for money for whatever I needed, or I could put that as a down payment on a larger property. So that's that equity analysis.
Okay.
And then again, just factoring in cost of commission, what it would cost to sell your house. But Tim, if you were in the team meeting or if you're not heard, had a really good, a lot of loan, and we're going to bring a lender in that I want you and a lender asking anything you want to know. Because like most loans, like we charge 6%, that's our fee. There's no set fee. They charge 1% origination fee. So if a house is 300,000, how much is the lender fee?
for
3,000, right? So that is part of closing costs when you're factoring in how much they have to bring to closing. So if you're not factoring in enough money based upon how much cash on hand, have an honest conversation about how much money do you have? I need to know so that we're shopping in the right place, the right thing. Tim is a $1,500 flat fee at cross country. So if it's a $300,000 loan and he's a 1,500 flat, you just saved your client $1,500. You with me? So that 1,500 is not out of pocket. That 1,500 could go towards something else. So some people aren't catching that. They're not allowing for, and I've seen it, newer agents or folks that aren't having honest conversations with their clients, having enough money on hand to make a purchase. And then you're scrambling like, okay, where's this money coming from? We've not talked about that. So, hey, good. Anything else? Good stuff. So next week of Bold is night and day compared to day one. Next week, the room is busted up in little huddles and you form groups. And then that is your group that you will keep through the end. So you have a group name, a group dynamics, your communication, who's going to be the leader, who's like, it's totally different than what yesterday was. So you're going to love it.
And they put you in the groups.
Yes. Yes. It's been a long time since I did it. I forget I think, but the reason being you're paired up based on experience, years, focus. So you don't want a whole team of newbies or a whole team of veterans, so that we can all grow from one another. So
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
that I'm gonna miss next week.
You're fresh out of school, so y'all have more legal information than veterans do.
This is true. Can I find out who I get assigned to? You know, I'm not going-
You will, yeah.
Okay,
And groups are usually 7 to 8 people, so. All right, so last week we talked about more of the buying sheet, what you need on the buying side. This time, let's go to the listing side. First thing you need. Whip it out.
Working with real estate agents.
Yep. And then what do you have to, once you explain who's who, then you have to get hired, right? And that with a listing is a listing agreement. That's again, the employment contract, just like on buyer agency. That's the employment contract to hire the firm to work with you as a buyer. The listing agreement is you, the client, hiring the firm to list their home. In that are all the terms. The date it's going to be marketed, the price it's going to be marketed, the window of time, how much it's going to be paid in commission. Do we cooperate with other agents? All of that is in that agreement. That's what that purpose is. You as the agent are the person representing the firm on that document. Heaven forbid, I write a listing, I fall over dead tomorrow, is the listing over with? No, the listing is with the firm. So the BIC would come in and just assign a new person or give them an option what they want to do. So you need a listing agreement, and that's the employment contract. But on top of that, and I don't like to say but, you need your supporting docs, I'll call it. Just like the supporting docs we talked about last week. And they are. Tax card. The deed. The HOA restrictions. What else you need? Plat, map. Flood map. What else do you think you might need?
the owners.
Disclosures, yep. You need them to fill those out. I will give you something that not everybody knows. The disclosure, the RPD is changing this year. The commission just voted, it's been out there for 2 months now. They're adding some questions specifically about flooding, flood insurance, insurance claims, that kind of thing for the sellers to answer about their homes. So the RPD is slightly changing. Disclosures in that, what's the magic year if you need a lead-based paint? 78. Who signs that? Seller, seller's agent, buyer, and buyer's agent. All four. It's the only disclosure both agents and both clients sign. Okay. What else?
Right on.
You would offer, and I'll tell you because of insurance purposes, you need to offer, and it's in the listing agreement. Are they going to get a pre-inspection, right? Are they going to offer a home warranty? Right? And then what are they going to do? Is the property as is? Are they going to make improvements? If they do these things, where are they willing to actually take the end results of some of this and then put it into action? If you get a pre-inspection on a listing agreement, does that become material fact?
Yes.
Yes, and you have to disclose it. So agents will say, don't show me that report. I don't want to see it. Because they don't want to know. You can't play blinders in North Carolina. That's a majority of the suits I'm seeing and complaints I'm seeing are, we didn't disclose something, we didn't share something, we didn't tell somebody. So if you do this pre-inspection, just make sure and explain to the seller what we find. I can't hide. You may not answer on the disclosure, even if you say no, and it's in there on the property disclosure. Even answering no does not hold you liable, or even answering yes does not hold you liable to these answers, right? But as an agent, if you know something from an inspection, you can't not hide it.
They're gonna find.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. We had a house under contract and they had an inspection and they found bats in the attic. They decided that they terminated the contract because they decided that their answer was, it was a little bit more work than I thought we were gonna have to do to accommodate our family. We're going to do some remodel, restructure, that kind of thing. And we didn't care that there were bats in the attic. They never gave us the report. The actual home inspection report was not given to us. Do we have to disclose there's bats in the attic? Yes. In private comments. It goes in a contract again, right behind it. They say, why did the prior people terminate? We say a little bit more work than they thought it would take on, and we do not have proof of this. We are having an inspection done from Animals Be Gone or Animals Wild or whatever it is out there. And they referenced that there might be bats present. In the contract, they said remediate bats if present. So sometimes it feels on the listing side that I'm actually disclosing private information about my buyer, my seller, or their home. But when it's a material fact, 34 times in the manual, it tells you can't hide it.
So you had that in the listing agreement in the comments that.
Yep.
Might be.
If any material facts are discovered as a requirement by state law, I must share them, even with the buying side.
Do you have to put those necessarily in the MLS, or like if they schedule a listing, could you just send them?
In the MLS, you don't have to put it in the public comments. You at least have to put it in the private to the agent, or put a list as an attachment, like your RPD or your LPD, those kind of things. Yeah.
What if someone comes in without an agent, they haven't seen the agent comment?
You have to tell them. Have to tell them.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. Because an unrepresented buyer, we're still the professional in the scenario, or an unrepresented FISBO. If we find something, we're required to tell the FISBO, we found this about your house, it's a material fact. So that is probably one of the biggest things in North Carolina, that they could care less who you are, what you are. If it's a material fact, you've got to say something. So a lot of these things probably see and look a lot on the buying side and selling side. What's one biggie you haven't seen? We hadn't even talked about it. Sketch of the house. Requirement. Why? How did you come up with the size of that house? So it need.
Square feet when material fact.
It is.
It is.
Yeah, size of a house. So you need at least something draw it off that says this is the bedroom and this, and then we're not looking like for Picasso's. You know, that's the kitchen, this is the owner's suite, this is the bath, this is second bedroom. This is primary living room. But there needs to be a sketch in your file, because I can't legally defend you if you don't have one. And I need to know how you came up with the dimensions for that space. Are you with me? Does that make sense? That's why we're going to measure a house. Because I don't want y'all out there just trying to figure it out. So you absolutely have to have a sketch. Because
Doesn't have to be a professional.
Nope. Nope. How much does you can hire an appraiser to go out and do you one, measure the house and draw your document. Usually around $100.
Worth it.
All day long.
So that eliminates drawing.
Yep, they'll give you a sketch. They'll give it to you.
Is, for example, if their building says major highway,
in the property,
Yep,
and you know about it, is that a material fact?
yep. Those, a material fact is anything that about the property that may affect the buyer sale of the property.
How would you even find out?
DOT.
Where would your pictures come in that? Just anywhere?
Your pictures, we are not, we actually don't, there's nowhere that actually says that you have to keep your pictures. It just says that you have to, they have to grant, in the listing agreement, ask for permission to be granted to take them. So you can take them with your phones and, you know, the phones with some great quality cameras. Just, here's my thing. I think you should treat every house worth its value. I hate to see a $500,000 house with the toilet seat up and hoopla on the counters in the kitchen. You know what I'm saying? A photographer that takes them day in, day out, looks for those things and they'll fix them on site usually. And they usually charge 100, 250, 200, 300 for a video and a drone and I mean, it's not crazy expensive for photos. If you're looking at $4,000 on a house.
Yesterday during mold, I was like, gosh.
Yeah, it was like 250 and you're getting all kinds of stuff, right? So.
Kristen has a question too. She's got her hand up.
Yes.
Hey, Jason.
Hey, how are you, friend?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Good, good.
I just had a question going back to the sketch and details. When it comes to a home and you're the listing agent and they tell you, hey, I've done a remodel, pulling permits to make sure things were done appropriately. Could you walk
thank you.
through how we do that?
So you would go to, if it's in the city limits, go to the building inspector's website. And permits are listed online, just like deeds and tax cards and those things. So there are county permits, you go to the county website, and you can also go to the city if it's in city limits. And those permits are listed as documents based on address or owner, and you can do searches. Good question. Again, something you have to disclose. So
Happens if there are no permits.
you need to say, and sometimes what happened was when they went online to a digital system, they only had about 7 years worth. They didn't have to keep all of them. So some of them aren't there.
Okay.
Say, you know, seller says there was an addition in 94, no permits on file.
Okay.
So as long as you say that, you're fine.
Includes just like.
'Cause there's a lot of flip houses.
Hold on just a second. What?
Would that include like if someone had like their bathroom remodel?
Yes.
Like with that?
Plumbing is something you have to have a permit for.
Electrical too.
Yeah, plumbing,
I just-
electrical are big too.
I just noticed because a lot of the houses, if someone is looking for move-in ready, we're seeing a lot of flip houses.
Yeah,
And in some of them, I see, you know, it says fully permitted, new bathroom, or, you know, sunroom is an addition, but then a lot of them, they don't have a lot of information on them. So you don't know if,
correct. I would agree with that statement. We're in one right now. The conversation is there was the bathroom only had one sink. And during the flip, they added a second sink. And we haven't seen a permit on the second sink. So that's an issue. So
You know that baby thing.
you might not,
Yeah, that's not.
you know, those questions are, hey, since you moved in, have you made any alterations to the home permit's original structure or any of your whereabout? So, yep.
Permitted, you take it out of the square footage.
No, you can add it and say 250 square feet of unsure permitted space. So you don't have to take it out. You just have to disclose that you may not have that space that you found a permit for.
If they pull the tax card or whatever, it may not show the same.
Yep, true. We actually had one recently that the tax office had not picked up on an addition. And then Zillow didn't pick up on the square footage. So we actually went to the tax office and said, hey, here's the addition, it was done. And then we went to Zillow and actually use our portal in Zillow that the owner or you as an agent representing can say this house had a modification. And if you have supporting documents, they'll update it. So.
So this, I haven't done a listing yet, so this is all the information that we need to have on hand with a listing.
Yep, those are the biggies.
Okay,
Now, you're not at the appointment, you're not showing them the deed and showing them the tax
Okay.
card and showing them, you're just having that for your file. That's what I have to have, or we have to have in the office for you to get paid.
gotcha.
So, and we need to know if there's restrictions, good one, I want chickens.
Yeah.
Well, some people are green and organic right now. I had a lady in Winston, they wanted chickens, they were gonna have chickens for their family. And they were going organic. You can have up to 4 in the city limits, 6 in the city limits of Winston-Salem. So I had to go find the ordinance that allows chickens in the city limits, because some don't have that. So I had to go to agriculture and find out if there was an ordinance for that.
Can you have roosters and?
No,
And my cousin has it in Durham.
no, you can have a chicken, you can have a rooster.
Yeah,
Right, so it's a difference, so. And 6 is the limit, no more than 6. At least in Winston-Salem. Dog park, I'm gonna run a refuge, I'm buying the house to be a refuge for a dog rehab. That might not be in code. So,
It's like signs when you're doing the open house, not code.
yep, yes,
Do you do the net?
I do. So they want to know a net listing sheet, good question. So how much how much am I gonna make? If I sell my house for 300,000, right? We charge 6%. That's 3 times 6, that's 18K, right? We split it, it's 9 and 9. These are horrible. Who bought these? 9 and 9. So. We agreed to work with agents. She sold for 300K. All right, so 300,000 minus 18 is
380.
282. What do you owe out of that? What if you have $100,000 loan still in the house? Your net is now 182, right? What else could be in there? Taxes, if you paid them or not, you need to go to the county site. We're gonna do we're gonna do a whole session on taxes. Because the assessments came out last year and some houses went from 150 to 320. So please know that it's coming. But you need to know how much, if they are paid yet or not for the year, yes or no. Because that comes out of that number. So let's say it's 3,000 just for good numbers, and they've not paid them. They are required to be paid before the change of hands at settlement. So if they are there, you're now at what, 179? You offer a warranty, 1K, now you're at 178. Right?
When they have things like on our lease, for example, what is it? The electrical. Solar panels,
Okay,
and they're on the lease.
lien on the house. They're recorded at the register of deeds, say they got solar panels, and they still owe 70,000 on solar panels. So that's gotta be paid before it changes hands. So now you're at 108. This goes back to the first question about where are we? A seller net sheet is your equity, right? So you're now, this $300,000 house is now your profit's 108 as Mr. Seller, Miss Seller, whatever. They have to pay stamps. You know what stamps are? $2 for every 500, right? That's basically the tax to sell a house. So if you sell it for 300, divided by 200 is 2 is 150. So it's, that amount on stamps. So your 108 now becomes probably 103-ish. Because you gotta pay stamps. You gotta pay an attorney. Your attorney on the seller side is going to be anywhere from 500 to 1,000. So now you're at 102. What if I offer a $2,000 floor allowance? Now you're at 100, right? What if I give them $5,000 in closing costs? I'm now at 95. So that's a seller net sheet. You're just working down.
Would a itemized fee sheet, worksheet be similar to this?
Can
Like
be.
on a buyer side, it would be similar to.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly,
Okay,
yes.
okay, all right.
There's a seller net sheet.
Yeah.
So the
okay.
seller wants to know if I offer, if I put the house on the market at 300,000, I'm coming away with 95. If I put it on at 275, I'm coming away with what? That may not be drastically different because 6% of 300 is 18, but 6% of 275 is not 18.
Yeah.
So see, depending on what
What it is,
price you go in the market at is what their net is going to be. So it's a seller net sheet. Here's the trick about this is make sure you're doing round numbers and always round up. You know, say it's going to cost more than it is. Don't tell them they're going to make 95 and all of a sudden they're at 70 because we left something out. So. But those are real conversations like, hey, the floor is an issue. I want to list your house, but you know, this is gonna be a problem. And say that, you know, the condition of the current condition of the home will not get you top dollar of the house. If you want to go ahead and replace this flooring, you'll probably more closely get to this. If you don't want to replace this flooring, we probably won't get to this number you're wanting, or we could offer a floor allowance. Those are conversations at the listing appointment. And we'll do a mimic one, like we'll sit down and so y'all can watch and we can play and y'all can feel good about it. So you're not uncomfortable on an appointment.
Last week I went home and made my own buyer sheet, like checklist, what I need.
Yep.
And I was like, trying to do a sell, I was like, I got nothing. I've not listed a house. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know what goes into.
Somebody, Janice, you asked me this week, people ask about reducing your commission. Do they ask their doctor to do that? Do they ask their salon to do that? Do they?
No.
No, you charge the price you charge, right? So ways around it. Well, which one of these marketing things in your house do you want me to take out? I'll be glad to. These things just cost something. So, or we have a three-way strategy to market your home. We have the 7% one, the 6% one, or the one you just asked me out, the 5% one. This is what you get for the 7% price. This is what you get for that price. This is what you get for this one. Pick which one marketing program you'd like your house to be on. That's another way. You can say in the listing agreement, there's a $500 early termination fee to cover marketing expenses for your photos, for your measurements. You can say that. If you want, there's just any other agreements and it's blank, you can put that in there. Some people do, some people don't. However you want to run your business.
The thing that I learned when I was next was they actually put in an upfront processing fee or
Yeah.
administrative fee.
Yeah.
Flat out
Yeah.
5,800, I think it was.
Yeah, and some people, I've seen there's an agent in town that says, I don't charge you upfront for marketing, it's in the commission, but if you terminate, there's a $500 early termination fee. So if we fire me at some point, I'm not getting my 6%, 3%, but I am getting paid for my pictures and my whatever that I did. Who owns those pictures once you pay for them? You do. They're trademarked, you bought them. So don't let anybody take your pictures.
I get that, and my daughter sold her house up in Boston. And she was getting a check back from the listing company because they actually had her give them money up front. For what
Yep.
the whole fee would have
Yep,
been. And then they reduced their fee, so she got a.
it just came out of the commission. So she paid up front for the marketing cost.
Yeah.
They took that out of the commission at the end. So
I've never
that's
seen
the only
that.
way to do it. Everything in the real estate is negotiable as long as it's in writing and both parties agree. That's the biggest takeaway.
If the listing expires, and they don't want to renew.
Not if it's not in that contract. I've had people say, oh, you know, they're gonna terminate and I'm out all this money. I'm like, yep, you are. I'm like, well, I paid for this and I bet, yep, you did. Because you didn't put it in there. If you put it in there, we can't whammy at the end. If you put it in there as an expectation, absolutely. Same thing, I do the same thing with price. When I'm looking at a price of a house and we're going to talk about price, okay, so we know on this graph, this is price and this is time, right? So when we enter the market, the longer in time that your house is on the market, the less the price you're gonna get. You with me? So if we enter here, it's doing this. So how long do you want to jeopardize the price of your house? So when you price it, do you want to price above and see what you get? That's usually what they want. They want it higher. Your first 2 weeks, if you've not sold it in 2 weeks, you need to drop it. Just tell them then, we'll go in at this price, but after 2 weeks, we're dropping.
So it's at the normal too.
Yeah. And if you don't drop, my recommendation is $5,000. If you don't drop at least 5K, you might as well just leave it the same price it was. You didn't change anything. So you can go above and wait and see. You can be at the market and get what you expect. Or you can be below the market price and then what? Drive it up. So which one of these prices would you like? Do you want it to wait and see? Do you just want to be like everybody else on the market, or you want to create competition for your house?
Yeah.
That's my conversation. So. Good stuff?
Yeah.
All right.
No, I got one more question.
No,
That's why I came in.
come in to ask questions.
So if, for whatever reason, the decision had been to take less, what do we need to do from a KW standpoint?
So for a listing, you have the authority to go within 1% either way. So our fee is 6. You can be charged 7. We've got agents that charge 7. They offer a marketing package that is a 7% marketing package. Just then break out further in the agreement, it says we agree to cooperate with other agents and what you're going to pay them, whether it's 3 and 3.5 and 3.5 or 3 and 4 or whatever. You could, our fee is 6, you can go as low as 5. If there's for some reason you want to, for extenuating circumstances, need below that, you have to have management approval. And then I would have to run that. You have to get that from me. So,
Kristen has another one online.
yep. How you doing, Chris?
Good. Quick question on if you're listing land and not listing a residential property.
Land is 10%. And the recommendation is 5 and 5. Resale is 6% with property, with houses, and it's 3 and 3. You can vary it however you want to. And then new construction is 5%, 2.5, 2.5. I do see a lot of land that's at 6%, not 10.
There are some new builds that do 3.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. yeah.
Well, the builder's offering that. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
usually,
yeah.
typically it's 2.5.
Yeah.
Typical.
Okay.
So what happened? What are the steps then that you like, kind of like you did for the residential? What's the checklist for listing land?
It's the same. Deed, tax card, land listing agreement, vacant lot. Plat, flood, like all listings are basically the same. And then you just need a sketch from the plat or a plat of the shape of the land.
If it's a inexpensive piece of land, can you do a flat fee?
Yes, you can. Yeah, flat fee is fine. You just need to let me know. So we talk about it. Like if it's a $10,000 and it's 10%, it's $1,000. is we just need to talk about it, going to flat fee something. So,
What do we recommend doing a survey?
always,
Okay. You talk from a listing perspective or both?
always
Okay.
let them say no. And I'll tell you why. I'm literally in a situation right now. We said, oh, you don't need a survey unless you're building a fence. And then they've come back and the property, the deck and part of the garage is over on someone else's property. So they're gonna have to tear down half of a carport and half of a deck. And we said, oh, you don't need that. Let them say no. You know, there's a list. These are the things you can hire on your behalf. That's for the professional services, right? So do you want a surveyor? Do you want a lender? Do you want an accountant? Do you want an attorney? Do you want a radon? So let them choose. You can say what those people do for them, but don't say how you feel about that one way or the other.
So I have a buyer under contract and the seller did a survey to put the property on the market.
Mhm.
So we can just use that. survey?
You can.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, once there is an official survey, it's done. I mean, you don't have to have a fresh one if there is one. What you find is like my family land, there's never been a survey on it. We think it's about 18 acres and we own it now because we've inherited it. But we've technically never had someone out there and literally surveyed it in forever. So before I would change hands on it, I would have it done myself as a seller or do it as part of the package. Just because you don't have a record. I mean, you know, my own neighborhood, my own house, we live on a lake and I went out, and there's, they drive wooden stakes with pink things on there now, not iron rods in the ground buried, right? I went out and the neighbor had moved our stake like from here to the bathroom and we live on a lake. And I'm like, no, wait, you just took half my yard. So someone moved it because we were gonna do some landscaping and stuff. So wooden stakes aren't forever. A rod in the ground is longer. So
Trees get cut down.
yeah, trees get cut down, decks get built, all kinds of things. So all good stuff.
If the previous owner had done a survey within like the past 5 years.
Yeah, 5 to 7 years. I think you were easily able to trust that. If you're gonna build a structure, I would always get one. If you're adding a building, if you're doing a fence, anything if you're doing something, draw those lines. Stay
All utilities, make sure you're not.
811. You're not gonna knock out power in the whole neighborhood or water or cable or mammal's oxygen tank can't light, whatever.
Yeah.
So
There's a piece of land that says it's not fair, is that because who at that point did the protection or is that because somebody at some point did?
someone at some point decided, based upon the scope of the land, that it is not suitable for sewage. Typically. No, you don't have to. What happens with a plot of land, usually you've got a plot of land, right? And you need some terrain that's kind of running downhill. So you're gonna have your well up here where the water is, and then you're gonna have the house in between. And then you're gonna have the septic tank for the stuff to go out. But then if that tank gets filled and the water, you need a overfill field. So it's gonna look like this right here. It's called the drainage field. That needs to run downhill. So if the slope of the land is not perk for that, that's the problem. So they can landscape it to do it. But what happens is you've got 2 bedrooms in a house, right? That a perk means that North Carolina is 2 people per room. So you've got a septic system for 4 people. So that's what a perk means. And that all comes from the health department.
So if it doesn't perk, you can't build on it unless you change the landscape first.
Landscape or change the type of, there's something called a pumping ground system. So the slope is not right. It's more expensive, but they can grind it up and pump it to where it can go to these fields if the slope is wrong. More expensive, it's called a non-conventional septic.
Yeah, a piece of land that I was looking at in Italia, They were saying it would need an irrigation system for like $3,000.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I won't keep you. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
Call me if you need me, gang. Appreciate y'all.
And no class next Thursday.
No class next Thursday because of fair housing.
Oh,
So
yeah.
come to fair housing lunch.
Where is that? Oh, is that?
Pay card.
DPA training. So so DI, the meeting yesterday, I wasn't able to go to, but I caught up with them on the luncheon about setting up and everything, but I have down payment assistance training. Yeah, so I'm not gonna be able to be here, and I told her I would talk to you today about it.